She had long black hair halfway down her back. Her parents were Irish and Spanish. This girl was almost supermodel quality. The more she wanted me, the less I wanted her, plain and simple. And this letter went on and how she would do anything to make me hers. This gave me a much clearer picture of the situation that I was about to get myself into. I knew that I had about 90 seconds to get the heck out of the house. So I did something terrible that I'm not proud of, but I still felt this tinge of guilt, and it really opened my eyes, and it scared me a bit. It probably saved my life. And then one night, I got my answer. I thought I was seeing things. It was exactly 20 years later. My heart didn't just skip a beat. It physically felt like it hit the floor.
Growing up in Brooklyn, you see some really messed up shit. These stories have haunted me for over 50 years. Now it's time to tell them. My one rule, I don't name names. These are the Brooklyn Files, the real stories.
The irony of dating in New York City, and Brooklyn for that matter, is that you're surrounded by the highest concentration of single people in America. Yet it's consistently ranked as the hardest place to actually find a partner. And because of the high concentration of people and the congestion that comes with that, dating somebody in another borough, that's like essentially a long-distance relationship. Like if one person is in Queens and the other is in Brooklyn, for example, that's a 2-train transfer and a 75-minute trek, and it's probably very close to the same thing by car, if not exactly the same. So that's a relationship that many New Yorkers will swipe left on based on that alone. Back in 1988, well before smartphones and dating apps, it was pretty common to end up with someone that you knew at work or somebody from your neighborhood or school. Back then, at 19 years old, there weren't many opportunities to meet somebody outside of that type of situation. And that was probably why I considered dating this one girl that I worked with at the grocery store that I delivered groceries for. I remember it all started when I was kind of minding my own business, and I kept getting comments from some of the older coworkers, you know, a lot of the ladies that worked there. They would always say something like, "Oh, you're so handsome and Jen is so pretty. You guys would make a cute couple. You should think about it." I didn't really think anything of it at the time, honestly. Like, I didn't find her incredibly attractive. Like, she was absolutely gorgeous, don't get me wrong. There wasn't anyone that didn't think so, as a matter of fact, but she just wasn't my type, you know what I mean? Like, I just couldn't put my finger on what it was. I can't explain it. She just really wasn't on my radar until people started saying that the two of us should be dating. And I was completely dismissive of the entire notion at first. But then I go find a couple of months later that she was more than likely the one that was nudging these people to say those things. Jen was tall, probably taller than the girls that I was attracted to for the most part. In fact, she was probably about my height, if not a half inch or so taller than me. She was slender, she had the smoothest skin you've ever seen and the most beautiful eyes. She had long black hair, halfway down her back, and she took care of it. Her parents were Irish and Spanish, and so she had this like exotic beauty. I mean, like, this girl was almost supermodel quality. But for some reason, I just wasn't that attracted to her. I'm not sure what it was. Maybe it was her perfume, maybe it was the way she dressed. I just don't know what it was. Again, can't really explain it. Maybe it was the height, maybe it was just how everybody was pushing her on me. Maybe it was the fact that everybody said that we should be together. Maybe I was just turned off by that. But again, I just didn't really feel motivated to ask her out. Over time though, I guess I slightly started to gain interest, little by little. So maybe I just had to hang out with her and get to know her a little bit and break the ice. But we did that one day, and as you might imagine, things happened. And she kind of started to grow on me little by little, but I still wasn't entirely sold on her, if you know what I mean. Well, months went by and we hung out a few more times, and each time something happened. And I guess she started to really like me even more. But the more she liked me, the more I felt pressured. And don't forget, I was like 19 years old. I really wasn't wanting to be serious with anybody. And she seemed to want to have a relationship with me, like she was always hinting at it whenever we were together. Every time we hung out, she would say something to me that let me know that she wasn't okay with the fact that we weren't an actual couple. But again, all that did was make me feel pressured, and it made me want her less, sadly. I then started to see this quality in her that started to become a little concerning the more I saw it. She would pop up at places when I would least expect it. For example, I was at the pool hall with a bunch of my friends and we're hanging out playing pool, and this pool hall was on a completely different side of town from where she lived, and she and I had no plans whatsoever to hang out. I mean, we're talking 4 zip codes away from where she lived, probably 2 separate buses to get to this side of town. And who comes walking into the pool hall right past me? But of course, Jen. And she has a friend with her, and she tried to act surprised when she saw me, but I could just tell that she was putting on an act. She said that she happened to be in the area or something like that, and she just walked into the pool hall randomly, according to her, but I didn't believe it. And it kind of freaked me out. Like, I could tell by the friend's expression that they had planned the whole thing. Like, they were just terrible actors, and you could sense it, you know what I mean? So the second time that I realized what I was dealing with, I was hanging out with all my friends. It was nighttime. We were by the baseball field where we would normally hang out, and do our thing and drink and smoke and whatever. And we're just doing that and just listening to music. And who comes walking up? And she's wanting to speak to me. Like, she wants to have this in-depth relationship conversation while I'm hanging out with my friends. And that was the last thing that I wanted to do. I mean, we weren't even dating seriously. We just hung out a few times at this point. And she wasn't my girlfriend, but she walks onto the baseball field and she's pointing at me in front of my friends as if to say, you, come talk to me now. And my heart sunk by the whole thing. I was a little embarrassed in front of my friends. And I'll never forget all my friends' reactions that night. They couldn't understand why I didn't want to talk to her or date her. All they would say are you gay or something, dude? One of my buddies was like, dude, if you don't want to date her, I will. I tried to explain it to my friends, but they just weren't getting it. I just couldn't seem to put it into words. And it frustrated the heck out of me. It's the more she wanted me, the less I wanted her, plain and simple. Well, the third time I got freaked out by her behavior, I was really thrown for a loop. So this comes out of left field. It was around Valentine's Day, and she was definitely not my girlfriend or anything close to it. In fact, I don't think I was even really talking to her that much at that point. And I'd been working at this job, and my car was parked about a block away from the job. And parking was hard to find in this neighborhood, but it was the neighborhood that she lived in. And I leave work in the afternoon, and I walked around the corner to go to my car. And once I get there, I stop in my tracks. I thought I was seeing things. Now keep in mind, my car had been locked shut all day. I was the only one with the keys to my car, of course. But it was what I saw inside the car that sent me into a complete state of shock. I approached my car after leaving work. The car's been locked for hours, and I'm the only one with the keys. I look inside, and I'm immediately in utter shock. I see a bunch of items on the passenger seat. I immediately unlocked the door. It was already locked, it wasn't even open. And I had this moment where I was like, what the hell? How did somebody get in my car? And I mean, I always locked it, like I said, and I was always very careful about that. Yet somebody left a bunch of items in the passenger seat. So I start to rummage through them, and I quickly realize who it's from and what it is. First, there were some flowers. And then there was a box with a bracelet in it, and I'm like, what the heck? And then there was a long note, a 3-page note. And of course, it was from Jen, and this letter went on and on about how we should be together, how she's in love with me, how I just need to realize how good we are together, and how she would do anything to make me hers. And she reminded me that, I could be dating anybody I want, but it's you that I want. Part of me felt really good about this note, to be honest, because it did make me feel wanted, but I was more freaked out than anything, overall. I didn't truly realize who I was dealing with until this happened. And it really opened my eyes, and it scared me a bit. This gave me a much clearer picture of the situation that I was about to get myself into. I felt trapped. I felt responsible. Like I knew that if I'd resisted her, that maybe I wouldn't have gotten into this situation in the first place. I mean, after all, I was really never that into her from day one. So why did I go ahead and, hang out with her and do what I did? Like I felt very frustrated with myself at this point. The best way I could sort of equate it is if a bear could feel frustration with itself after it gets caught in a bear trap, this is the level of frustration and the feeling of trap that I imagine it would have felt. Despite feeling like I was trapped, I still went for the bait a little bit. So there was still something about her that lured me in. It's almost like I didn't have full control over it. I'm not blaming her. It takes two to tango, I realize that. But the allure of her, wanting me that much, and I guess her beauty too, it really got to me. Well, there was a few months when we started getting into this pattern. She lived only a few blocks away from the place where we both worked. No, she didn't have a dad that lived in the same house as her. She only lived with her mom. And her mom worked in Manhattan, had one of those office jobs, and the mom would get home the same time every day like clockwork. Like she'd catch the same train, get off the train the same time. So Jen and I would be messing around in the apartment right up until the moment her mother would ring the doorbell downstairs in the lobby. Like, I'm not sure why the mom did that. I'm sure she could have let herself into the lobby with her key, but she would always buzz the doorbell. Now, keep in mind, Jen and her mom lived on like the 5th floor or so. So when the mom would hit the buzzer in the lobby, I knew that I had about like maybe 90 seconds to get the heck out of the house. In these apartment buildings back in the day, there would be a panel on the lobby wall, and it had a bunch of buttons on it for each apartment, and you press this button when you were downstairs in the vestibule, and it made the doorbell ring upstairs in the unit, and then that person upstairs in the apartment would buzz that person into the lobby. I mean, her mom would have blown a gasket if she knew I was there in the apartment before she got home messing around with her daughter. I mean, like, what mom would be okay with that, right? Plus, the mom already wasn't too keen on me because she knew that I was essentially pushing her daughter away and not dating her properly the way she wanted me to. So I think the mom was kind of disgusted with me for that reason already. Well, we almost had it down to a science. Like, we would be doing our thing, and then we would hear the buzz at the door from down in the lobby, and then I would jump up, start to grab my clothing, and I would run out the door. Now, there was a stairwell that was very close to her apartment door, just a couple of doors away. So I'd go out the door, I'd walk a little bit up the hallway, and I'd duck into the stairwell, and she happened to live at the end of this hallway. So I would have to grab my clothing, run out the door, then go into the stairwell, and oftentimes I would just be wearing my underwear in the stairwell, kid you not. So I was taking a chance that somebody wouldn't see me that way, and then I would have to get dressed in this stairwell. And, of course, I had to do it quietly because in about 90 seconds, I would hear the mom with her key, and she would let herself into the apartment. But, of course, she didn't know I was right there standing so close to her. And she was only about maybe 20 feet away from me when I was doing all this. It was always an adventure. It always made me nervous, but, we always lived on the edge. So I was torn about this girl, to be honest with you. Like, I felt compelled to hang out with her at those times and get intimate with her. But I honestly didn't really want to deal with all the stuff that came with a relationship. I mean, go figure, right? 19 years old. So it's pretty common, I guess. But in my heart of hearts, I kind of knew that I was using her. And I mean, in a way, she was using me as well. So I did something terrible that I'm not proud of. And so again, I was desperate, so I lied. I had to wait till I no longer worked with her. Otherwise, this lie wouldn't have been possible. So a few months after I stopped working at the grocery store where we both worked together, I was able to make up a complete lie, and I told her that I was moving to upstate New York. I was shocked that she actually believed it, like she seemed to buy it. And she got really sad, and then she said, "How are we ever gonna see each other?" And I said something like, "I don't think we can." And she was beside herself when I said that. I was terrified because I knew that she was capable of following me anywhere. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, I knew how wrong it was to lie to her, and I really didn't enjoy doing that part. But I knew how desperately I had to break this pattern. Like, I had to do something. Now, keep in mind, I wasn't moving anywhere. I was still staying put in Brooklyn in the same apartment that I currently lived in. So for the next few months, I walked on pins and needles, and I was afraid that she would just start showing up at places in my neighborhood. But surprisingly, she didn't. Again, she must have bought it. And I was actually surprised. She didn't try to call me. She didn't ask for my upstate New York address, nothing like that. Like, she just accepted the answer, and then she completely fell off. And that part surprised me. No more phone calls, no more surprise visits, no more long love notes left in my car, nothing like that. I guess she thought there was no sense in calling my number anymore because, she didn't think that I was going to be living in that apartment. And that's the day of landlines and, before cell phones. So she just stopped coming around. She stopped calling. She just went radio silent. And I started to feel relieved. Yet I started to feel a little guilty. Like I finally got the freedom that I wanted and I didn't feel obligated to see her anymore. But I still felt this tinge of guilt from the whole thing. I can't explain it, knowing what I'd done to get that free. It was around then that I started to wonder, did I start to make this up in my own head? Was what she was doing completely normal? Do you know what I mean? Was it just a girl professing her love for a man that she thought that she would be happy with and that she's supposed to be with? Maybe she saw us having a future together and she was just fighting for what she thought was rightfully hers. Maybe it was just my ego blowing the entire thing out of proportion to make myself feel more important than I actually was. I thought of all those possibilities, believe me, not just back then when I told her that lie initially, but I started to wonder that for the next bunch of years after that. For the next 15 years or so, I continued to think about Jen and what my life could have been like if I actually stopped running from her. And I had those thoughts for a very long time too, until one day when I turned on the TV and I found out that I had made the right decision. All those years, I'd wondered if I'd blown that situation with Jen out of proportion. Was she really stalking me? I started to doubt it over time. And then one night, I got my answer. It was exactly 20 years later. The year was 2008. I was married at the time. We were getting ready to sit down to watch an episode of Dateline. And I turned the TV on. That familiar music starts playing, with the slow motion shots of suburban streets and the narrator with the deep voice. And the episode was titled something like The Girl at Work. And we're sitting there in front of the TV when they flash a picture on the screen of a woman being led out of a courthouse in handcuffs. My heart didn't just skip a beat, it physically felt like it hit the floor. It was Jen. She was older, but there was no mistaking those eyes and that long dark hair and the pretty face. As the narrator started talking, the pit in my stomach just kept getting bigger and bigger. It turns out, after I told Jen that I moved upstate, Jen didn't just move on, she found someone else, a guy that she worked with a few years later. They dated for a while, but when he tried to break things off, the surprises started. They showed a photo of his car, his locks had been picked on his car, and then he'd get to the car and he'd find stuff in the passenger seat just like I did. He moved 3 times to get away from her, and every single time she found him. She'd show up at his gym, his parents' house, his new office, always acting like it was just this crazy coincidence. He went to the cops, he got a restraining order, but for someone like Jen, a piece of paper was just a challenge, apparently. Then they described the night it all ended. She tracked him to a motel where he was staying under a fake name, trying to hide from her. She didn't leave a note this time. She waited in the parking lot until he walked out to get dinner at night, and then she ended it right there. Let me tell you something, seeing her face in that mugshot, looking completely blank and emotionless, I realized that my lie about moving upstate didn't just save me from a headache, it probably saved my life. All those years I spent wondering if I was the jerk for tricking her, and I wasn't. I was just the one that was smart enough to get away.